Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the general awareness and basically we are talking about the civics. Okay. And in civics, that's what we are covering. And basically in the civics, we have completed how many topics? We have completed directive, principles of state policies. That's what we have completed. Okay. Thereafter, we have completed central government organs. All right. And thereafter, now we are talking about the which topic? We are talking about the constitutional sources. Okay. So I hope that you have revised the previous topics properly so that you could establish the command in these lectures which we are going to study or which we are discussing. All right. Civics. So basically, in the previous lecture, we had finished the constitutional definition and we were discussing on the constitutional features. All right. So we will continue with the same constitutional features. Let's start. Okay. So basically, in the previous lecture, we had started about the features and the drawn sources. We had completed the length feature in which I had told you various facts and figures. I hope that you have revised them properly before you have arrived for this lecture. Okay. So in drawn sources, because I have told you we have taken three things into consideration while we were making the constitution: British rules and policies. Second one was borrowed things from the other constitution. And third was the newly introduced concept during the Constituent Assembly or after it. Okay. So in drawn sources, thereafter we have the Government of India Act 1935. Okay. We are talking about 1935. India got independence in 1947. It means we are talking about the British rule. Okay. So basically, the Government of India Act 1985 having a great influence on the Indian Constitution. How? Essential aspects like the federal system. It means there are two types of government: central government and state government. Central and state. In addition to it, we also having the concept of local government. Okay, at district level and cluster level, you can say. All right, but generally in federal system, generally in federal system, we are talking about the two types of government: the central government and the state government. The central government is responsible to the nation as whole, whereas state government is responsible to the particular state. Okay, so that system was mentioned in the 1935 Government of India Act as a federal system. Okay, thereafter the judiciary. Okay, we know the judiciary we having. It's like we having the Supreme Court. Okay, we having the High Court. All right, we having the subordinate court. Right, so we having these judiciary that was also mentioned in the 1935 Act. Thereafter, governorship, we know that there are three things. There are three things. First is head of the state slash nation. Okay. Thereafter, we have head of the government. Okay. Thereafter, we have head of the states or state. Okay. So this state and this state having the difference. This state we are talking about nation. In this state we are talking about the state like Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab, whatever you can say. All right. So basically, the head of the state or the nation is the president. Remember this thing. The head of the government is basically the prime minister. Remember this thing. The head of the state or the state is basically the governors, whom you sometimes also called as lieutenant governor. All right. And the governors also appointed for the union territories. So let me mention UT here. Okay. Head of the state or nation is president. Government is prime minister. States or UT is governor or lieutenant governor. All right. So the concept of governorship has been taken out from 1935 Government Act. Emergency powers, I had told you that we having three types of emergencies. Article 352. Okay. Thereafter, we have the Article 356 and then we have the Article 360. These are the two articles we have. The first article stands for the national emergency. Second article stands for the state emergency. And the third article is basically stands for the financial emergency. Okay. So these three articles we have for the emergency and that was mentioned in the 1935. Public services like the union public services, state public services, okay, and administrative details which we have included in the Indian structure have been found in the Government of India Act 1985. So now you can imagine these things having the great importance and these are mentioned in the Act of Government of India Act 1985. That's why I had told you the Government of India Act 1935 having a significant influence in the Indian structure. All right. So these are the things which we have borrowed in the Indian Constitution and the grassroots and the source comes from the Government of India Act 1935. Thereafter, American influence. What do you mean by is American influence on the fundamental rights? The concept of fundamental rights within the Indian Constitution is influenced by the American Constitution. Okay, or you can say generally the fundamental rights concept have been borrowed from the American Constitution. Okay, and right now how many fundamental rights we have? We have the 6 fundamental rights. Okay, 6 fundamental rights. All right, what are these rights? Right to equality, okay, right to you can say life or personal liberty, okay, freedom of speech, right to religion, right to cultural rights or right to culture, or the last one is constitutional remedies. Right, these are the 6 fundamental rights we have, and about these rights basically we have discussed in the previous lectures. You can go and watch. The right which we had excluded from the fundamental rights was right to property. Okay, That is the right which we have excluded. Got it? So remember this thing. Thereafter, Irish and the British. British here is the Britain. Irish here is basically the Ireland. So remember this thing. The directive principles, which is DPSP, are inspired by the Irish Constitution, means the Ireland Constitution, and the cabinet form of government is derived from the British Constitution. Okay, because you can also connect it that the cabinet mission was sent by the British Parliament. It means that the British having the concept of cabinet. Okay, and who are the members of cabinet mission? Patrick Lawrence, A.V. Alexander, and Stafford Cripps. Okay, so remember these names also. So thereafter, we have the federal system characteristics. Okay, federal characteristics in the Indian governance. The Indian system of governance encompasses federal features, include a dual structure consisting of the center and the state, the separation of powers among the executive, judiciary, and legislature. Okay, that's what we had discussed in all previous lectures also, and in just lecture also. First thing is that Indian government is divided into the two forms, central or the state, which is the part of the federal system, and we had borrowed it from Government of India Act 1935, right? Second thing is that separation of powers. When I was telling you about the central government organs, so basically we had discussed about the three organs. First is the legislature, thereafter executive, then judiciary. Okay, these were the three organs. All right, and here is one thing written down here, that there is a separation of powers. It means their powers are separated and well defined. It means legislature is basically liable for policy making. Got it? Executive basically liable for policy implementation. Okay, judiciary is basically liable for legal validity of policy making and its implementation. Okay, so legislature is basically the maker of policy. Executive is basically the implementator of policy. Judiciary is basically to check out the legal validity of policy making and its implementation. All right, so this is the power separation. Okay, the supremacy of the constitution and independent judiciary and the presence of bicameral legislature forms a federal system. Okay, supremacy of constitution, because we having a written constitution, everything have been written down in a proper manner. Thereafter, the independent judiciary, it means, remember in the topic of the subordinate court, high court, and supreme court, I had told you the government has no control to decrease the power of the court. They could only increase it but not decrease. Okay, thereafter, the bicameral legislature. What do you mean by it? So basically, when we talk about the central government, basically we talk about the parliament, right? In parliament, we have the two houses, upper house and the lower house, right? Which house is upper house? Rajya Sabha. Which house is a lower house? Lok Sabha. Got it? So this is the bicameral legislature. Okay, clear about the federal characteristics? Now let's move forward. All right, In features, thereafter we have the federal system and we have the topic incorporation. Okay, so incorporation of unitary aspects. In addition to its federal characteristics, the Indian Constitution also incorporates unitary features such as a robust central authority, existence of all India services shared between the center and the states, provisions for emergencies that can temporarily shift the constitution towards a unity system, and the appointment of governors by the president upon the center's advice. Okay, so basically we can say we have the central government, then we have the state government, and also we have the concept of local government. Okay, so basically you can say, however, the power have been divided in these all three. Okay, but generally the Indian Constitution gives the ultimate power to the central government on the state government on the local government. Okay, how? Through these manners. First is the central government can exercise the robust authority. Okay, second is all India services are basically distributed between the center and the states. Thereafter, we can impose the emergency through Article 352, 356 and the others, and during this time basically the state government functions have been transferred to the parliament or the central government, and thereafter the governors, who are the head of the states, basically appointed by the President of India through the center's advice. Okay, so basically you can say, however, we have the unitary aspects, but in reality the central government exercises their control over the state government in some aspects. All right. Thereafter, we have the Union of States. Basically, we have the Article 1. Okay. Article 1 of the Union Constitution explicitly states that India is a union of states, emphasizing the federal structure. Okay. So basically, let me tell you one thing. India is basically called as Union of States. Okay. And the famous dialogue about it is that, let me call it for you, India is a indestructible union of dexterable states. Okay, keep this thing in your mind. Indestructible union of a destructible states. Okay, what do you mean by? Basically, Indian states, which are 28 in number nowadays and which are the part of the India as a country, these states have not been merged with India through any agreement. Okay, so it means no state having the right to separate from India. No state could be separated from India because they have been no agreement signed with the state to be the part of Indian country. Okay, that's why India is called as the indestructible union. Then why we call it as a destructible states? So basically there are two articles, or you can say three articles basically. One, two, three. First article is article number 2. Third is article number 3. And the fourth is article number 4. Okay. So basically, article number 2 states that the government can alter, decrease or increase the area of the state or the name of the state. Okay, it's the power of the parliament. Alright. Article 3 states that the parliament can form out the new state existed from the, or you can say taken out from already existed state or divided by the extended state. Okay, and for this the president has to send the provision to the state legislature to give their remarks within the time period, but their remarks are not acceptable or not enforceable to the parliament. So you can say, just take an example. This is the state. The parliament said, okay, divide the state into the two areas, A and B. Previously, the state was listed at C. Okay, so in such a scenario, the president will send this provision to the state C legislature. Okay, and the state C legislature will have to revert it to the president, and the president will show it to the parliament. Okay, now it's totally depend on the parliament whether to admit their remarks and suggestion or not. Okay, so there is nothing that the state legislature could do. So the parliament can easily divide the states into two or more areas by virtue of 2 and 3. Okay, so what is the significance of Article 4? Basically, Article 4 states that the provisions of Article 2 and 3 are not a part of Article 368. Okay, basically Article 368 stands for the Constitution amendments. Okay, and the passage of constitutional amendments could be done by two things: a special majority or the simple majority. A special majority or the simple majority. These two majorities could be helpful in the constitutional amendments. So Article 4 says that Article 2 and Article 3 could be implemented by the single use of simple majority. Okay, it means that the parliament could easily increase or decrease the area of the state. It means could easily or decrease the existent area of the state. Okay, that's why India is known as the indestructible union of the districtable states. No one is allowed to get separate from India, but the India can increase or decrease the size of any state submerged in the Indian country. Okay, so this is what said in the Article 1. The Indian Constitution explicitly states that India is a union of states, emphasizing the federal structure. So many states are included in India which are not the part of any agreement, so no state is allowed to get separated. Got it? Now, thereafter we have the hybrid nature. Therefore, the Indian Constitution is characterized by a hybrid nature, combining federal and the unitary elements within its governance framework. Okay, federal means that the powers have been divided between the center and the state governments, but unitary means maximum times the central having a exclusive power on the states to inform the, or you can say to ensure the uniformity throughout the country. All right, that's why it is called as the hybrid, because it is a intermixture of federal and the unitary provisions. All right, thereafter we have the parliament selection of parliamentary system. Okay, the Indian Constitution opted for the parliamentary form of government where the executive branch is integrated with the legislature. Okay, parliamentary form means we have the two houses, upper Rajya Sabha, lower Lok Sabha. Okay, so that's why we having the bicameral parliament. Got it? Upper and the lower one. All right, so we have the parliamentary form. Okay, where the executive branch is integrated with the legislature. Okay, legislature basically comprise the Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha. Okay, and we know that basically the executives we include is the Prime Minister, President, okay, Council of Ministers. So if you look at them, then these are the part of the parliament. Okay, so you can say the executives are in cooperation with the legislature. Okay, but here please exclude the president one as MP, member of parliament, because he is a part of parliament. Okay, if you remember, I had told you the parliament comprised three things: the parliament, okay, the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha. Council of Ministers, Prime Minister is a part of this one, whereas, sorry, it's a president. Sorry, correct it. It's a president. Whereas president is different from them. Okay, and these all are the part of the parliament. Got it? All right. Now, thereafter, we have the collective responsibility, as I have told you. Within this system, there is a fundamental principle of collective responsibility, whereby the Council of Ministers is collectively accountable to the legislature, or you can say basically for the Lok Sabha. All right. It means that no confidence motion could be passed alone to the Council of Ministers. All right. Now, let's move forward. Thereafter, we have the party rule. What do you mean by it? Majority party rule. In this governance model, the majority party holds a significant role in decision making and governance, ensuring stability and the effectiveness. Basically, let me tell you, in India, during the general elections, basically, we have the majority party rules. What do you mean by it? So basically, in the elections times, you have seen there are various political parties who have taken participation into the elections. All right, and basically, suppose by example, this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Okay, these all political parties are taking the part of the you can say taking the part of the election. 100% votes are there. Okay, party A gets 55% vote. Party D gets 10% vote. Okay, party C gets 5% vote. Okay, so you can say party B get 30% vote. Okay, 55, 5, 60, 70, 30, 100. 100% votes have been pulled off, and out of 100% vote, now the question is, which party has received the maximum vote? This one. All right. So basically, that was the concept. Okay. In India, we have the majority party rule. It means the political party which will secure the maximum votes in the general elections will get a chance to form the government at the parliament. Okay. It is to hold the stability and the effectiveness. All right. Thereafter, we have the leadership. Leadership at national level and the state levels. At the national level, the Prime Minister assumes the leadership role, while at the state level, the Chief Minister serves as a leader, reflecting the hierarchical structure within the parliamentary framework. Got it? Now, let's move forward. Parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Okay? And their balance. Basically, Balance between parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy is our primary concern. The Indian Constitution strikes a careful equilibrium between the concept of parliamentary sovereignty and the judicial supremacy. It means that because we have the, you can say, written constitution, so that's why the parliament and the government are not so free to decide the things altogether. Okay, that's given age to the judiciary or judicial supremacy. If the government or parliament do something out of the constitutional limits, the judicial supremacy could be exercised. Whereas there are some powers have been granted to the parliament under the constitution. Through this, the parliament could ensure the sovereignty and this give them edge over the judicial supremacy. Okay, so you can say they both are getting balanced. Okay, parliamentary sovereignty and the judicial supremacy. No one having the absolute edge on anyone. They both are on the same level. Got it? Thereafter, the power of judicial review. As I have told you, judicial review empowerment. The Supreme Court is endowed with the power of judicial review as outlined in Article 13, 32 and 136. This authority enables the court to nullify any parliamentary law if it is found to be unconstitutional. Okay, as I have told you, the constitution defines each and everything in a proper manner. It means the government actions which have been taken by the governments are already pre-planned. It's only a matter that how they have taken it. Got it? So this gives the judicial review empowerment. If the government has exercised the power in an unconstitutional manner, then this action could be challenged in the court, and by the virtue of the judicial review, this could be declared nullified if it is found to be unconstitutional. Okay, so that's the power of judicial review. Thereafter, the parliamentary law, parliamentary lawmaking authority. Conversely, the parliament possesses the prerogative to enact laws and holds the capacity to amend a significant portion of the constitution through Article 368. Okay, however, the constitution granted the power of judicial review to the judiciary. The constitution also grants a power of amendment to the parliament so that they could make the necessary amendments in the constitution or to make the changes in it as per the requirements. So that's why it is the balanced, the judiciary and the parliament. Got it? Thereafter, we have the maintenance. Maintaining constitutional harmony. This harmonious coexistence of these two powers ensures that neither the judiciary nor the legislature can unilaterally dominate the constitutional framework, as I have told you, thereby preserving a delicate balance of authority between the Indian Constitution, authority within the Indian Constitution is necessary. Okay, so judicial review gives the power of judiciary. Thereafter, parliamentary lawmaking power gives the parliament power to amend the constitution or make the changes as per the requirements. All right. Thereafter, we have the unification. The Indian Constitution establishes a singular and cohesive judiciary within the country. What do you mean by it? However, we have the three kinds of courts. Supreme Court, okay, High Court, and then comes our subordinate court. Okay, so these are the three types of court we have: Supreme Court, High Court, and subordinate court. But their hierarchy is similar. Okay, subordinate court comes under High Court comes under Supreme Court. Similarly, Supreme Court directs High Courts direct subordinate court. Okay, so it means that there is a unification of judiciary. Unification of judiciary. All right. So remember this thing. Thereafter, hierarchy of the courts. The system comprises the Supreme Court as the highest authority. Thereafter, the high courts at the state level, and below them, the district and the subordinate courts at the district or the ground level. These lower courts operate under the oversight and jurisdiction of the respective high courts within the state and the high courts under the Supreme Court. That's what we have discussed now. All right. Thereafter, comprehensive legal mandate. At all levels, the courts are entrusted with the responsibility of upholding both central and state laws. This dual mandate ensures that the legal framework is constantly applied across all tiers of the judiciary. Okay, so you can say whether it's on the center or it's in the state. Anywhere, if there is a violation of law, thereafter, according to the respective powers have been granted to the courts by the Constitution, Supreme Court, High Court, or subordinate courts will take the necessary judicial action. Okay, so that's why we have a comprehensive legal mandate so that everything could be crystal clearly understandable. All right. Independence, promoting judicial independence. This integrated structure promotes judicial independence while concurrently fostering a cohesive and uniform approach to the enforcement of legal statutes. Okay, encompasses both national and the state level regulations. Okay, however, the parliament having the power to amend the constitution, but as I have told you, they are not allowed to curb the power of the courts. They could increase it but could not curb it or decrease it. Okay, so this gives them the independence. All right. Thereafter, principles, objectives, directive principles, objectives. As we have talked, we have already discussed them in the part of the DPSP. The primary objective of directive principle of state policies outlined in part 4 of the Constitution is to shape India into a welfare state. Okay. Thereafter, they are non-enforceable by courts, as we have discussed. These DPSPs are not subject to enforcement by the courts in the event of violations, unlike the fundamental rights. Under Article 32 and 226, you could reach the Supreme Court and High Court respectively, but there is no article mentioned in the Constitution under which you can reach the court on violation of the directive principles of the state policy. Okay. Thereafter, moral responsibility of the state. Nevertheless, it is considered a moral duty of the state to incorporate and apply these principles when crafting legislation. All right. Thereafter, fostering welfare-oriented governance. These principles play a pivotal role in guiding the state towards policies and practices that promote the welfare and well-being of the citizen, even though they may not be legally binding or enforceable. That's what we have discussed properly. Okay. Thereafter, amendment process, rigid and flexible. Amendment process under Article 368 of the Indian Constitution outlines different methods for amending its provisions. Some amendments required a special majority in Parliament, which entails a 2/3 majority of members present and voting in each house, along with the more than 50% of the total membership in each house. Okay, so by short, you can say there are two types of majority: special and simple. In simple, only more than 50% is enough. Okay, in special majority, there are two conditions. 2/3 must be in favor. Second is more than 50%. These are two conditions. All right. So by example, you can say if they are 100%, then at least 50+% should be in favor of the bill. This is the simple majority. While in the case of special majority, if there are 100%, it is obvious that more than 50% should be in favor of the passage of the bill, whereas 2/3 of 100 is basically, you can say, 2 by third of 100, 2 into 100 divided by 3. Okay. And when you will convert, it's like this one. So nearly about approx 63.3%. It's not accurate. I am saying this again. This is just for example. Okay. So please do not calculate and check the answer and tell me wrong. Okay. It's just for example. So about 63% and more should be in favor of the bill. Okay. So this is the special majority. All right. So this is stated by the Article 368. Amendment with state rectification. In contrast, certain other provisions can be amended with a special majority in Parliament and require the ratification of at least half of the total state. It means that whether you have able to pass the bill with special majority, still it's required at least 14 states to be in favor of this bill. Because 28 states we have total and half of the 28 states is 40. Alright. Thereafter, the simple majority amendments. Additionally, there are provisions within the Constitution that can be amended using a simple majority in Parliament following the standard legislative process. These amendments, however, fall outside the purview of Article 368. It means the matters who are mentioned in the Article 368 could not be amended without special majority or in some cases without ratification of half of the states. Whereas the topics which have not been mentioned under the Article 368, these could be simply amended through the simple majority. Alright. Thereafter, we have the diverse amendment process. The Indian Constitution thus incorporates diverse amendment procedures depending on the nature and significance of the provision in question, ensuring a balance between stability and adaptability within the constitutional framework. Okay. Now, thereafter, constitutional features have been closed off. Alright. So we can say we have completed these two. Completed and completed. Alright. So basically, now we are required to complete these points. Alright. So let's have a look on them. From Japan, we have adopted procedures established by law. Okay. From UK or United Kingdom, we have taken the parliamentary government, rule of law, legislative procedure, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative writs, parliamentary privileges, bicameralism. Okay. Moving forward, from USSR, which is right now known as the Russian Federation. Okay. So USSR was broke down into the year of 1991 and then we have got the Russian Federation along some other countries. Alright. So from USSR, because we are talking about the 1947 to 1950 or 1946 you can say to 1950 till we implemented the constitution. So during this time the USSR was existed. We had taken out fundamental duties, ideals of justice, social, economic and political in the preamble. Okay. Thereafter, from Ireland or the Irish constitution, we have taken out the directive principle of state policy, nomination of members to Rajya Sabha, method of election of the president. Alright. From Canadian constitution, we have borrowed the federation with a strong government, vesting of residuary powers in the center, appointment of state governors by the center, advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Okay. Thereafter, from Australia, we had borrowed concurrent list, freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse, joint sitting of the two houses of the parliament. That's what we have borrowed. Thereafter, from USA, fundamental rights, independence of judiciary, judicial review, impeachment of the president, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, post of vice president. This what we have borrowed from them. Thereafter, France, concept of republic, that's Oftenly you have seen it in the official news that Republic of India. Okay, so this word have been borrowed from France. Ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity in the preamble. All right. Thereafter, from Germany, what we have borrowed: suspension of fundamental rights during Germany. Okay, except the two fundamental rights, Article 20 and Article 21. These two fundamental rights could not be suspended even during the emergency. Okay. Thereafter, from South Africa, what we have borrowed? We have borrowed the procedure for amendment into Indian Constitution and election of members of Rajya Sabha. All right, that's what we have borrowed from the South Africa. All right, so students, with this we have finished the constitutional sources. I hope that you have enjoyed the lecture. You have understood the concepts and the facts and figures well enough. If not, then just watch the video again and make sure that you revise the facts and figures properly. With this note, let's end this lecture and say thank you.